Hey everybody, we are live. We are here to the premiere episode of This Week in Pro Wrestling.
Yes.
I'm Mike Sandoval. I got Jeffrey Harris here. He's our co-host. Introduce yourself since this is the first time we're
Once
going live.
again, I am the J to the E to the double F -ree. I am Jeffrey Harris. You can read me at 411mania.com. I'm in all the zones over there. Or you can also check me out on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher on the 411 Wrestling Interviews podcast. But tonight I'm here with This Week in Pro Wrestling with the amazing Mike Sandoval. Thank you, Mike, very much.
It's great to have you here. I've been trying to get you on this and doing this for a while now. And now we finally got all the pieces together. So
yeah,
we're going to move forward with it and let's see how it goes. And we're
in the middle of WrestleMania season. Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's WrestleMania's in full swing, and wrestling is one of the few things that hasn't been stopped by the pandemic.
Exactly.
As crazy as this whole pandemic era has been, wrestling has kept it going. So yeah,
I agree with you. And what better way? Because the reset of the year is WrestleMania for WWE.
Yep.
So it's a good time to start it right now.
Right around the corner, yeah.
Yeah.
WrestleMania was supposed to be. What's funny is we're in LA. WrestleMania was supposed to be in LA this year at SoFi Stadium, but of course, this pandemic has just sort of shut down the whole world, and everything's kind of slowed down. So WrestleMania this year is being held at Raymond James Stadium, where it was supposed to be last year, but instead they had it at the Performance Center and did 2 nights. Yep. So this year they'll be doing it 2 nights at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, where it was supposed. But basically no WrestleMania at SoFi in LA, so no WrestleMania for us
until 2023.
Right, because I think next year, I guess if
in
they
Dallas.
stick, provided the world gets back to normal somehow, they'll probably go. Yeah, they'll probably go to Dallas next year, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But let's start off the show with Fastlane, which happened last Sunday. What did you think of the show? To be honest, because it was the first pay-per-view on Peacock.
That's right, because they just moved to Peacock. I don't know about this Peacock deal right now, just because it seems like they haven't migrated all the content over. It doesn't seem as user-friendly as the past version of the WWE Network, and it also, from what I've been seeing on the Squared Circle Reddit, they've been making a lot of edits and kind of censorship changes. Some understandably, because when you look at the history of wrestling, there are some embarrassing and sort of insensitive moments, but it's also part of history, so I can see that perspective as well. But this show, I mean, it's really a stopgap on the way to WrestleMania, so I guess in that respect it kind of did its job. But it wasn't a mind-blowing show, is I guess how I would sum it up.
Yeah, the whole Peacock thing for me is a little interesting because I don't like the way it's set up right now. Also, too, we're losing the WWE Network. It's going away like the first week of April, I believe.
In the U.S., that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
In the U.S. So I'm hoping that they fix a lot of these issues with what's going on with the actual channel, because it's kind of clunky, to be honest.
So this deal, I think it's basically Peacock is leasing the WWE Network for 5 years. The WWE Network officially ends, I think, on April 5th, the first week of April.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about it, but I hope they make it more user-friendly and more of a destination for what wrestling fans are looking for. Now, personally, since everything is about streaming and subscription services these days, I want to see one of these other promotions that have streaming services really step up and kind of like show, hey, we can do this better and give you more of what you want than what Peacock can, like New Japan. Like, have you ever subscribed to New Japan World?
I have not,
Mike?
but I heard it's really good.
It's good. Like, it's nice to get the live shows and you can get them simulcast in English sometimes, but the service itself, it hasn't really been updated or revamped in several years, and I wish they could revamp it and make it more of a destination, more user friendly than Peacock is right now. But this
Yeah.
show, like, so what did we have? We had Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan
Hmm.
for the Universal title. I'll do a quick rundown. Drew
Yeah.
McIntyre versus Sheamus in a no holds barred match. Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton, match of the year candidate, right? Right, Mike?
It was controversial too because Randy Orton's
Right.
wife didn't really like it too much.
Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Braun Strowman versus Elias. It was originally advertised as Shane McMahon, but it was Elias at the last second because Shane chickened out. Biggie versus Apollo Cruz. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. So you had the women's tag team champions versus the two opponents for WrestleMania 37 and the SmackDown Women's title match. And in the kickoff opener, we had Riddle versus Mustafa Ali for the United States title. So let's go ahead and just run this down. So our hot opener was Riddle versus Mustafa Ali for the U.S. title. This was originally announced for the pay-per-view, but then it's like one of those things at the last minute, oh, it's going to be on the kickoff show, which is the free sort of 1 hour show.
It's the buy-in.
Yeah, it's the buy-in. So Riddle beats Mustafa Ali again. This was a rematch. Not only does Mustafa Ali lose, but the other members of Retribution turn on Mustafa Ali, and it looks like Retribution is donezo. So thoughts on that, Mike?
Shoot, this match was, I like Riddle. I like him as a performer, but they don't use him well. I don't think they use him to his full potential.
I think, like, Riddle, he's a former UFC fighter, former MMA fighter. He's kind of got that whole kind of like bro stoner thing. I think they have him talk too much, and it just, his scripted promos don't sound good, but I mean, they gave him the US title, so clearly they have plans for him and they hope he's going to become a big star. But honestly, I don't ever see Riddle becoming a huge main eventer or world champion in the current regime, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But what do you think? What do you think about that?
Match wise, just to go into the match, it was kind of blah. It wasn't a great buy-in. I didn't find it very exciting. As for Riddle, I agree with you. I don't think with the current way things are going, he's not going to be like a WWE champion type of performer. They're just tag team possibly.
Mustafa Ali, his whole heel run, he was made the leader of Retribution. Looks like Retribution is done at the moment, or they're going to be revamped.
Yeah.
What do you see happening with Retribution and Ali?
It's gone. I don't think they're going to bring it back because they had talked about they had changed the whole idea of Retribution so many times.
Yeah.
And I think this is a good way for them to just end it and throw it in the trash and let's try something else.
I don't think they knew what they wanted Retribution to be. And yeah, you're right, it did keep changing because like first they were on like they were invading all the shows, right? And they were tearing apart SmackDown, Raw, and I think that
NXT.
And NXT. Then they got signed to Raw, and then they were just on Raw. Like, okay, they're only going to be on Raw now.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we want to destroy WWE, and then I think they kind of lost that. So,
and don't even forget the months of promotion beforehand.
Yeah.
That was leading up to this, and it just kind of fell apart.
Yeah. And you know what? It's a shame because I think Ali is a super worker.
Oh yeah.
Like, have you ever followed Ali on Twitter? Like,
yeah, I do.
Like years back, he would just post videos and promos that where he just would write, and cut them himself on Twitter. And I'm like, this guy really cares about his character, about his craft, about his interviews. Like he's putting the work in. And I just wish WWE would do the same for this guy because he's clearly got a good mind for the business. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He used to be a Chicago police officer, He went through all that and he always had like this positive message and outlook. And I don't know, I just feel bad for Ali because I I don't want to say he's getting wasted, but I just feel like he's not being used to his full potential.
Yeah, and see, that's kind of like Ali, Riddle. You look at the guys of his stature,
Mm-hmm.
body stature, and everything. There are exceptions to that rule, but I don't see guys like that working in the WWE the way it is right now. It seems that they're going back to that big,
Yeah,
super power lifter type of looking type
you
of
know,
wrestler.
with some exceptions, WWE just isn't. It's a tough place for small guys to
Mhm.
break through the ceiling and to really excel.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Whereas, like, I mean,
yeah.
and they have like, and that's where like you're seeing in other wrestling promotions, these small guys are the ones who are heading the show, leading the show.
Yeah, I mean, it was like that back in the early '90s.
Mhm.
Um, when guys like Hogan and Ultimate Warrior were still around, like they were great
Yeah.
characters and they were very popular.
Mhm.
But who were the guys who were having the best matches on the card in the golden age? It
Mhm.
was guys like Mr. Perfect,
Mhm.
Bret Hart,
Mhm.
Shawn Michaels, The
Yep.
Rock, with Marty Jannetty and the Rockers. It
Mhm.
was the smaller, more athletic wrestlers
Yeah.
who would kind of like Hulk Hogan would give you like the big showmanship moments, but guys like Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect would give you like the real athletic, like mat-based contests. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with you on that because, like, as we go into later on in the week, as we go through the week, you're gonna see we're gonna talk about these guys and what they've done so far in the ring in their matches. So,
Okay, so now we get to the main card of the pay-per-view for
mhm,
Fastlane. So we have the women's tag team title match. We have Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler successfully defended the titles against Sasha Banks, SmackDown Women's Champion, and Bianca Belair. So of course, uh, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair will be the SmackDown Women's title matchup for WrestleMania
mhm.
37 because Bianca Belair won the Women's Royal Rumble. Now, I think this was a solid match. I think it did its job, and quite frankly, I think the women's tag team title role is a good role for both Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax.
I agree. I agree. And to me, it was very much a typical match to set up and to go into WrestleMania. You knew that they were gonna fight in that way, or they're gonna have a disagreement, and it's going into that's gonna be the setup for WrestleMania. It's a
Yeah,
traditional match.
y- traditionally over the years, you would sometimes see the WrestleMania opponents teaming up
Mhm.
before WrestleMania, and then like things break down, and then things get intense and they turn on each other, blah blah blah. Like
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
happened with Shawn Michaels and John Cena,
Mhm.
with Batista and Undertaker over the years, and other various. But yeah, sort of to
Yeah.
be expected.
Mhm.
Um, I hope Shayna goes singles again because I think she is really talented.
Yeah, same here. I think they haven't given her the opportunity to be a singles
The
wrestler.
only thing about Shayna is she's already 40 years old. So I mean, she is a natural athlete. She's another former MMA fighter. So, and I imagine she can have like some successful years yet. But I hope she gets to have that kind of like big WrestleMania run or big singles run eventually. Because when
Yeah.
she came onto the main roster, didn't it look like she was going to go after Becky Lynch?
Yeah,
And then they kind of.
I think that was the idea, was to set up that, and something went astray again. And that's
Yeah,
something that's the commonplace right now with WWE.
yeah, like
They have a great push and then something falls apart once it
yeah.
gets there.
But that said, at least she's on TV, she has a title, and I think if she's not in the main event level, I think this is a good role for both those women right now.
Yeah, I agree. I
Okay,
agree with you.
so moving on next, we have Biggie versus Apollo Cruz. Um, let's see. Biggie won the match, so he beat Apollo Cruz yet again. Biggie's kind of having a bit of a singles run right now. What do you think of the new Apollo Cruz Nigerian royalty character, the heel turn?
I wish it could have been done earlier because then it
Mm-hmm.
would have fit him better.
Mm-hmm.
But this just seemed like one week he was the regular Apollo Cruz, and the next week he's like suddenly has a Nigerian accent and everything like that, which kind of like seemed, it would have been better if he would have went out, and then when he came back in, have that type of thing.
I wish they kind of gave him this kind of character a long time ago.
Yeah.
It does because back in his old pre WWE days, he was called Uwa Nation. So it seems like, if he came in with this character, because he was kind of just, for the longest time, he was just Apollo Cruz. He was just plucky, underdog face, happy to be here. I think it's a good character for him, though. So
yeah, it's a good character.
I think it works for him right
I
now.
just wish they would have introduced it differently.
Do you think Biggie is being groomed for bigger things down the line, or what do you think?
In the way the way WWE is now, yes.
Okay.
I think they are.
Honestly, I would like by the time SummerSlam season rolls around, I want to see Biggie competing for the world title.
Yeah,
What
same
do you
here.
think about that?
I think that's something that needs to be done already.
It's
way overdue.
Or toward WrestleMania, because I feel like Biggie has I think he's always kind of had all the tools, but look, he was part of the New Day for a long time.
Some say he still is.
Arguably he still is, but I think having him break off from the New Day is probably the best thing for him, as long as they capitalize on it.
Yeah.
Exactly. As long as they make it mean something and I want to see him getting in the mix with Roman Reigns and those dudes sooner rather than hopefully by SummerSlam. Or if they do the draft again, I would love to see him match up with Drew McIntyre, with Bobby Lashley, with those dudes. I think they could have some great matches.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that.
Okay, so next up, Biggie won that one. Braun Strowman beat Elias, match of the year candidate. Yes, right here, Mike?
Yeah, definitely. Ooh. I don't know what they're doing with Braun Strowman. He's a great athlete.
he's
a big guy.
Here's what he's the new Big Show.
Yeah. Pretty much.
The Big Show.
Yep.
They can't make up their mind with whether he's a good guy or bad guy, seems like. Remember Big Show would constantly turn, like every other week he would turn heel or face. It feels like we've gotten there with Braun,
I agree. I wish we've seen signs of how good it could be. And how good Braun could be, especially like some of the stage matches that they had last year with the Fiend.
The cinematic.
Those were really good. But I don't know.
I kind of feel like after that Swamp match, I kind of feel like they kind of lost that, just because it kind of felt like there was some unresolved storyline there with him and Alexa Bliss, or I don't know, but
I agree.
It feels like he's their new Big Show, and he's just the big guy monster, and he's not really seen as a viable main eventer. If you remember last year, he only got into that Universal title match last year because Roman went on hiatus for a little while because of the pandemic. It was that matchup was supposed to be Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, as I recall, right?
Yeah.
And Braun was the replacement. So he got that title run, but he only got it because Roman went home for a little while.
Yeah, exactly.
Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
It was you know what? I think it could be a good match right there. There's something that could be good in that, but in this match, it wasn't there for me.
I feel like they're kind of doing this thing now with Seth and Cesaro. Now I like that.
Yeah,
I like that they're giving like Cesaro kind of a singles run, kind of long overdue. I think so. I think this could be good for both guys.
Yeah, I think it could because Shinsuke is a great performer. It's just he hasn't been another wrestler who is a small guy, skin guy, athletic guy, and they don't use him well.
Shinsuke, the window's closed.
Yeah,
Shinsuke.
Yeah,
they kind of had that. They kind of had that period where I think he could have been their top star, but
yeah, I think it's already time to.
Vince is just not. He's just not good with Japanese wrestlers. I think. I don't think he gets the whole.
Or Latino wrestlers, from what we've seen.
I agree. I agree. Look, Rey Mysterio had that run for WrestleMania, and I feel they always were cutting Ray off at the knees.
Hmm.
Remember back in 2006
Yeah.
after Ray won the Royal Rumble, and they tried to, it just felt every week they were having Ray lose, and I'm like,
Hmm.
that's not, he's your WrestleMania main event. That's not what
Yeah.
you do to your. Even if Ray is small and an underdog, you don't do that to him every week. So
Exactly. And then we also had where all the Latino wrestlers were wrestling each other for weeks on end.
yeah, or they just get paired up with each other, just
Yeah.
like with Lucha House Party.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
just kind of the thing. Nakamura, I think this is just kind of what he's going to be doing for the rest of his WWE run.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, look, Nakamura is 41 years old. So like I'm not saying yes, he can have Nakamura could probably have another 10 good years,
Hmm.
as long as he takes care of himself,
Yeah.
and all that. But do you think Nakamura is going to have that WrestleMania title run,
No.
at this point? I
No.
don't see it.
I don't. It's not going to happen. At least for the
Um
next 5 years, not going to happen.
Now, one of these guys who did turn his career around was Drew McIntyre, Sheamus.
Yeah.
So they kind of had this kind of mini feud going on. They had a no holds barred match at Fastlane. Drew McIntyre won. I think this is a good feud for both guys. Just kind of give Drew something to do on the way to WrestleMania. Got a solid win over Sheamus, and
Yeah.
uh, how old do you think Sheamus is?
Shoot, I'm thinking he's like 38.
Sheamus is 43.
Fuck, he's close to me.
Yeah.
Oops, excuse my language, but damn,
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't
you
know.
draw.
I didn't know. I didn't know he was that.
We're trying
I
to keep
thought,
it clean here,
I know we're trying to
but
keep it
yeah.
clean. So, but shoot, I did not know he was
She-
43.
Sheamus has been around. Sheamus has been in. Let's see, when did he debut?
Well, that's the same way with like Jeff Hardy. I see their age, and I'm like,
Yeah,
dude, these guys started when they were like 16.
yeah, and Sheamus, he's been around since 2009, so it's pretty crazy. But Drew McIntyre, isn't it amazing? Like when you think back, he had that kind of like mid card run
Hmm.
as the chosen one, kind of petered out, was in a jobber stable called the Three Man Band, the 3MB,
Yep.
with Heath Slater and Jinder Mahal. Jinder Mahal of all people gets released and eventually gets huge,
Hmm.
becomes a WWE World Champion, and then Drew McIntyre gets released, has a good run outside of WWE,
Hmm.
comes back, is huge and jacked, and now he's one of the top stars in the company. How crazy is
Exactly.
that?
It is crazy, but he did go to Impact.
Hmm.
It seemed like when he left WWE and went to Impact, he cut his teeth.
He
And
reinvented
really,
himself.
yeah, exactly. And that reinvention really helped him when he came back to WWE. And yeah,
Reinvention's really important in this business, isn't it, Mike?
yeah, it is. It is. You really got to find it. I mean, it's all gimmicks, but you got to do something that sells and gets people excited. And I think with Drew McIntyre's so the way he does himself now gets people excited, and the matches have been so much better.
But have you ever gone back and seen those chosen one promos where Vince calls him you're
Uh
the
huh.
chosen one, and that was back in like that was over 12 years ago, I want to
Yeah.
say. That was
Yeah. It was.
yeah, it's crazy to think how many years it's been, and just but McIntyre has done pretty well, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah.
Did you
I
like
think
it?
I
Do you
like the
like
match. I thought it was a good
uh
match.
okay. Let's see. Over at 411, they gave it 3 3/4 of his stars. Do you care much about star ratings, by the way?
Not
What do you
really.
think?
Not really. I
When
I
I would
go I
Yeah.
go by more how it makes me feel.
Hmm. When I was in high school and college, I was really big into the 5-star match rating scale. Now I'm not so much, because I'll go onto YouTube and I'll watch old matches from the golden age, or the attitude era or whatever, and I care less about the 5-star, more than as you said, how it makes you feel, and
Yeah.
does it incite the emotions, and does what they do in 5 minutes, is it meaningful, and all that. So I care less about work. I mean, like, I like good work rate and I like lots of cool moves and stuff, but I want it, you know, if you're gonna have 3, 4, 5 minutes, just tell a good story in that time and have fun. Get the
Exactly.
characters across, get the story and the emotions across, more so than like I need like 5 stars.
I agree. I
Okay,
agree completely.
Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton.
Oh, don't even get me
Oh my
started with this
god.
match. Don't even get me started with this match.
What do you think of this whole thing with Alexa Bliss, the Fiend, and Randy?
It's getting dumb now. It's getting so dumb. And like me and my sister was watching
Yeah.
this match with me, and she's all like, "This is just stupid at this point." It's just I thought they were gonna make Alexa Bliss and change her character, let her become Sister Abigail. There probably was a part where they were gonna do this, and this whole Fiend Alexa Bliss thing is just with Randy Orton is just dumb now.
I thought like because like Sister Abigail has been this kind of like unseen mentor the whole time
Hmm.
for Bray Wyatt or the
Yeah.
Fiend, right?
Hmm.
So I think they had that one segment where it looked like Bray was Sister Abigail or
Hmm.
something, like
Yeah.
Sister Abigail was like an alternate personality. Then they kind of did that thing with Braun where it looked like Alexa Bliss was Sister Abigail. Why don't they just make her like she's been Sister Abigail the whole time?
Yeah. Exactly. And I
Well,
think it's unfair to Alexa Bliss, who one has had a good run on WWE, was a women's champion, was a
mhm.
women's tag champion, and
And
now it's just like
yeah.
just throwing her in a pool where I don't know where they're gonna take her.
Is it a testament to Randy Orton that his career can survive such bad booking over all these years?
Yes, yes, and I don't know. Like after Fastlane, it was intriguing, and we'll talk about it later. But the Randy Orton Stone Cold Steve Austin interview on
Oh, the
Broken.
broken skull.
No,
Yeah,
that was a really good, insightful interview.
I think the other thing about Randy Orton, at least, I think the reason he can survive this is because he's matured now. He's he's been he's been in WWE since really like before 2002. So
Yeah.
almost 20 years he's had a WWE career. So
Mhm.
and he's had a lot of ups and downs, and he had behavior and attitude and maturity issues, and it seems he's grown out of all that. So I imagine that helps him a lot that he
Mhm.
can get through just such trash wrestling angles like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm hoping after WrestleMania, this is it. We let
Yeah,
Randy go into something else.
yeah, this feud has been terrible. But what do you
Mhm.
think of the Fiend's the latest look of the speaking of
Oh,
reinvention?
his Nightmare on Elm Street type of
Yeah,
look this
yeah.
time. It's just so it's too much already at this point.
I just don't know. Like, I liked the Fiend at first, but like, I think they put the Fiend in like the world title situation too quickly
Yeah.
with Seth Rollins.
And also I think they did in the beginning of the Fiend. I don't think they really thought out
Hmm.
what it was gonna be like and
Hmm.
how it was gonna get to the fans because they changed it
Right.
a lot, and really stripped it down. And now this incarnation seems like they want to go back to the beginning and bring that horror aspect, that scariness to it. And now it doesn't work.
What do you think of the Fiend as like the heir apparent to characters like Mankind and the Undertaker?
Uh, Undertaker's separate. It's hard to
Okay.
compare, but like Kane, it kind of
Hmm.
resembles a darker Kane to me.
Speaking of Kane, Mayor Glenn Jacobs got announced for the WWE Hall of Fame this week. Okay,
Yeah.
so moving right along for Fastlane. Our main event was Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan for the Universal title. Edge, who is the Royal Rumble winner, was to face the winner at WrestleMania. Um, Roman Reigns defeated Daniel Bryan. Edge seems to have snapped and turned on Daniel Bryan. Is this a full on heel turn for Edge? What do you think?
No, it's not. I think it's just a hey, take a pause, got something to do to get ready for WrestleMania. They're gonna probably throw Daniel Bryan into it, make it a three-way championship match.
Okay. So you think they
That's
are going
my
to do a
prediction.
three? Okay.
Yeah, that's my prediction because I
That
think
seems to be common. That seems to be the common prediction. Do you think
yeah.
that'll help the match?
I think it would have been great already before. I think
Hmm.
this just makes it another level. But is it necessary? No, I don't think it was
Do you
necessary.
think to fulfill this storyline, Edge has to win at WrestleMania? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It fills that arc, and then Edge will lose the belt by SummerSlam. I don't think it's going to be a long run. I think it's just I put the belt on him, last hurrah, and then slowly start working out.
Okay, so that was WWE Fastlane. Any final thoughts on that event,
It was
Mike?
okay for a first
Hmm.
Peacock pay per view. It wasn't bad. Looking forward to WrestleMania. I think that's the one that's going to really tell what this Peacock relationship's going to be like.
That's right. So this was the first WWE event to stream on Peacock, but WrestleMania is going to be the real. And they're doing a 2-night takeover that week as well, so
Yeah,
they're going to be showing
exactly.
that on Peacock. Okay, so Raw this week. So we had what night was that?
That was
The
Monday.
po- that was, so we had Monday Night Raw, the post Fastlane edition of Raw on March 22nd. Any big takeaways from you for Raw this week, Mike?
Uh, to be honest, it was the best thing was Rhea Ripley coming in, challenging Asuka for the WrestleMania.
That's right. So we finally got the debut of Rhea Ripley.
But here's the
This Yeah.
we got the debut, but let me ask you this before we
Okay.
really get into the full spectrum. Why is it they bring Rhea Ripley up and hardly even talk about when they brought her up in 2019?
What was
Because remember they brought her
what
up.
happened in 2019 with her?
She faced Charlotte Flair, and wasn't that a three-way in
No,
WrestleMania? Or was
that was
or,
Ronda.
no?
That was Ronda, Becky, and Charlotte.
Yeah, but that was Sorry, I got it mixed up. It was for
Oh, she wrestled
Survivor
Char
Series.
last year. She wrestled Charlotte for
Hmm.
but that was for the NXT Women's title.
Yeah,
Do you
but
mean Survivor? Was it
Survivor Series, I think it
Okay?
was.
Was it last year's Survivor Series or the year before?
It was the year before because remember they all got stuck in the Middle East and they had to bring up some of the NXT
Oh,
stars.
that's right.
So
Well, they probably weren't ready for her to say goodbye to NXT then,
yeah,
and now she's officially moved up because she still had that NXT title run. Asuka did have a good match with Peyton Royce, though. I thought
yeah,
I like Peyton Royce, and you want to know what? I like the Iconics too, and I like
yeah.
Billy Kay. So I hope something can happen with them.
Same here because I like the way they work together, but when they separated them, it hasn't been the same. I think Peyton has gotten more out of it than Billy Kay.
Hmm.
But I would like to see them bring them back together again. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would like to see
Okay.
that.
So the two-time Grand Slam champion, The Miz. So now that he's lost the world title, he's got our celebrity match this year at WrestleMania. There's always one of
Mhm.
those. Is going to
Yep.
be him, and now it's going to be him and Bad Bunny. So they've set it up from Raw, The Miz versus Bad Bunny. What do you think of all that? I was hoping it was going to be Damian Priest teaming with Bad Bunny. Now Damian Priest isn't getting his match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's where I would have liked to have seen Damian Priest, Bad Bunny versus Miz and Morrison. Now this is just a joke.
Okay. Now I will credit WWE. I think one of the things they are doing well is Bobby Lashley
Mhm.
as a world champion. Like, now, how old do you think Bobby Lashley is,
I'm thinking
Mike?
he's closer to 50.
He's 45.
Shoot, he's a year younger
No,
than
no,
me.
no, 44. He's
Oh shoot,
44.
I was gonna go. Shoot, he's 2 years younger
Can
than
you
me.
believe that? Can you believe that though?
It's hard to believe. Well,
But
can you believe I'm 46?
you're a good. You're no. I wouldn't have said 46. I would have said like 41.
Yeah,
I don't think you look 46 now.
that's why it's so hard for me to believe. Like these guys are close to
No,
my age.
I
They
mean,
look so
but
young.
you know what though, like Lashley has kept himself together so well.
Mhm.
I don't mind that he's world champion, and
Yeah.
I think he considering what he what he had to go through when he came back to WWE. First the sisters,
Oh
and
yeah.
then that trash angle with Lana. Like that guy,
Yeah.
just based on that alone, like that guy deserved the world title. Like, come on.
I agree. I agree with you.
That said, do you think they're gonna break him in the Hurt Business up? Does it look like they're gonna
It
split?
looks like it. We've already seen little incidences between Shelton Benjamin and what's his name?
MVP and Cedric.
Yeah, and Cedric Alexander. You've already seen some heat starting between those three.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it's going to come down where Bobby Lashley's just going to say, I don't need you guys.
Okay, so
I'm the champion.
So now they're setting up Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE title. That'll be WrestleMania Night 1. Bad Bunny versus The Miz is WrestleMania Night 1 from the Raw side. I think Bobby Lashley should win at WrestleMania. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think they should give. I think it's a good storyline. Storyline to keep Bobby Lashley moving. I think they need that right now. At least on the Raw brand.
Okay, because Drew had his run. He had 2 runs with the title, and I think there are just fresher matchups right now for Lashley. You know,
yeah, I agree.
And it's nice to have a guy with the title who never had it before. And it seems unlikely, but I guess there's always hope he could have that matchup with Lesnar.
Yeah,
somewhere down the line. Like now that matchup can happen. But Lesnar's a free agent. Can they sign Lesnar to a contract right now? Okay, so let's see what else happened on Raw. So they had Drew McIntyre beat Cedric and Shelton.
I think that was pretty much everything because I can't remember.
Oh, okay. So here we had Kofi versus AJ Styles. So they're going to do the New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. So that's going to be the Raw Tag Team title match. Do you like that matchup?
Not really. I don't think Omos is going to do anything. He's just going to stand there, be the big guy, throw them around. That's about it. I think it's just, to me, it seems like a waste of AJ Styles' talents, even though he's going towards the end of his career already. I think he's still a lot more for him.
Guess how old AJ is?
46?
He's 43.
Oh, 43.
AJ's had quite a career, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about it,
like he's been around, had a great career with Impact. Went to New Japan Pro Wrestling, was the leader of the Bullet Club. Now in WWE.
Considering he was kind of like that TNA original, who was always there. You know, was in Ring of Honor, was in New Japan. Never had that WWE run. But then, at least when he finally made it to WWE, he hit it out of the park. So I'm happy for him on that. But this is just a total filler match. Basically.
Yeah, but for him, he didn't. To be honest, when you really look at his career, he never needed WWE.
No.
I think WWE needed him more than
had he retired. Had he retired after that New Japan run, he would have had a great career. Because I mean, you know, some guys never have that WWE run, or they have that WWE run and they just don't break. Like, look at Sting.
Yeah.
How would you describe Sting's WWE run?
As just to get him into the Hall of Fame. That's all it was to give him the Hall of Fame notoriety because he took over WCW.
Or DDP.
Yeah. DDP never needed it. He shows up, says hi, Royal Rumble, gets out, and that's it.
Okay, so then what else are they setting up for WrestleMania? So Asuka versus Rhea Ripley. Do you like that matchup?
I think that's going to be a good matchup. I think Rhea Ripley's they're going to give her the belt.
Okay, so the other big thing is because a couple weeks ago, Charlotte Flair challenged Asuka to a Raw Women's title match, and we thought that was going to be the matchup for WrestleMania, right?
Right.
But then Charlotte disappeared from TV, and so the story we found out just a couple days later, like we're all wondering, like, where is Charlotte? She has COVID. She tested positive for COVID, and that's why we haven't seen her for a while.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and I hope that's real and
yeah,
not a work.
that would be pretty bad to fit
Yeah. Mhm.
to work the fact that you have COVID. Like,
Yeah,
come on.
but also this is a good segue to
Yeah.
what happened in relation to Charlotte. So
Yeah, I want to get into that too.
you could bring that up.
Okay, so this is kind of the big story this week, independent of Charlotte and WWE. Well, it is not independent of WWE, but Andrade, the former NXT World Champion, former WWE United States Champion, is now no longer under contract with WWE. He had asked for his release. That story came out. And now it was initially reported that WWE denied his release earlier this month, and then WWE confirmed his release just really a few days ago.
Yeah.
March 21st is when they put it. They put it out officially. Andrade released. WWE has come to terms on the release of Andrade. We wish him all the best in all of his future endeavors. What do you have to say on this, Mike?
I think WWE is going to lost a big talent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they knew how to use them. It's just like Aleister Black. I think Aleister Black is next. And he's going to ask for his release because I think those two guys had some really good matches on NXT. But once they got into the main card, they never used them correctly. Another group of guys that are talented, and they haven't used them.
The other thing is they lost Zelina Vega, who was Andrade's valet. She was a major part of his act.
Yeah.
She got released last November because of that whole, the third party, WWE banning the third party platforming, Cameo, Twitch, or in Zelina's case, OnlyFans.
Yeah.
She only does cosplay. Only cosplay. Yeah. So get your mind out of the gutter there, wrestling fans.
Exactly.
Andrade though, he comes from a wrestling family. Let's see.
Well, and that's the case, is the fact that like WWE, the only Latino wrestler that they've ever used really well was Rey Mysterio.
And Eddie before
and Eddie and Ray were the only two they used. Like Tito Santana was never that really. It's kind of like a wishy-washy back in the 80s. Ray and Eddie were like the highest level
because
ones.
they were world champions.
Yeah, exactly. And now they don't really use them that well, and it's kind of sad because it's exciting wrestling when you let a luchador wrestle.
It's because it's huge down there, and Latin American regions and in Mexico. Like, I saw this video of Andrade when he was La Sombra. That was his luchador character when he was in a mask versus mask match in CMLL in Mexico, and this was a stadium show. It was huge, and it was a mask versus match. He lost the match, so he lost his mask, and everyone was crying. Like his family, his parents were ringside. His family members like Rush, Rush from Ring of Honor. He's the Ring of Honor World Champion right now. I think they're related, aren't they?
I think so. I don't remember.
So, but like people were crying when he was taking his mask off. Like, and this is just something that WWE doesn't. They can't even scratch the surface of that.
They don't,
for whatever reason.
Like they don't. I don't think they get the culture of the luchador. And if they ever do find it, they're gonna touch a base of fans that always would look at WWE, but they'll go to other wrestling promotions that had that style. And I think that because Rey Mysterio isn't going to be around much longer, you can already tell.
I mean, Ray has had double knee replacements. He has had a long and rough road.
Yep, he had that stem cell injections into his knees.
Andrade is 31. Like he's not like a young buck, but like he's younger than most of the guys they have in the main event scene right now. He's got a great look, great physique. I just don't get why they could never figure it out. Just because the rumor was Vince was never happy that he didn't learn English well enough. Like, really?
Like,
Does that, like, come on?
does it shock you though?
It doesn't shock me, but what makes me angry is that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because, like, okay, first of all, I think he speaks English well enough to, like, I never had a problem with the level of English he did speak. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, Zelina Vega was his manager, and she was fantastic at what she did.
Yep.
She speaks English perfectly. And that's why you have a mouthpiece, right? So why does that even matter?
Exactly, and that goes in like with a wrestler like Kalisto.
Kalisto speaks perfect English.
Yeah, he's from Chicago.
Yeah.
Amazing shape. He's even in better shape now. Great wrestler. And how did they pulled him away from Lucha House Party, and they haven't done anything with him other than having Sasha Banks pass by. He says hi, does a little couple things, and that's it. And I think they're losing something really big out of these wrestlers that could be really good for the show.
I think they were doing this thing on his Twitter where Kalisto, it looks like he's turning heel. But here's my problem with that. Those vignettes they're not even airing those on TV. So it's like, like, I get Twitter is important, but it's like, if it's not on TV, how invested are they even really into this heel turn, you know?
Exactly.
For Kalisto.
Exactly. And it's sad to see that.
But Andrade, though, he's a third generation wrestler. He believes he believes he was born to do this. Like, he put out that video a few months ago where he said, like, I was born for this. He really, he's not in this to be Charlotte Flair's boyfriend, you know?
Exactly.
Like, he's not in this, like, use him to make Charlotte Flair happy. He's not in the game for that. He wants to be a big star. So,
and I think he's gonna be big. He's one of those talents that WWE will release. He's gonna be big somewhere else.
So now that he is released from WWE, what do you think should be his next move?
To be honest, I would go Ring of Honor first. But something tells me he will be in AEW. He'll wind up at AEW.
Here's what I would do if I was Andrade. I would just play the field a little bit, you know? Don't set up roots anywhere, right? Because the wrestling landscape right now it's still kind of rough because of COVID, because we're still in this pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff is opening up gradually, but we're still, like, all those lockdowns and restrictions are still in place in many areas. I would just play the field, do Ring of Honor like you suggested. Maybe do some New Japan Strong. New Japan Strong is like their weekly US show. Maybe mix it up with those guys, but don't take the first offer right away. Don't sign a contract, like, unless it's like some, like, because he just left a big money contract.
Yep.
Like, he wasn't even he could have just collected probably hundreds of thousands of dollars to just sit at home for WWE. He did not want that. He wants to wrestle. So I would say don't take the first offer that comes along. Play the field. Try out Ring of Honor, because, like, his friends and his former stablemates, Rush and Dragon Lee, are there. Maybe he can work with them, give them a fresh, give them maybe join, because they got a stable over there. So maybe he can join their stable, or maybe he can even mix it up with them as like a new rival.
Yeah, and I think he could try a new gimmick or a new persona at Ring of Honor, where at AEW. I don't think he's going to have that much time to develop something like that.
Dave Meltzer at The Observer, I think he said he still owns his luchador character, La Sombra. So, and Andrade is his real name. So he could go back to the La Sombra character or do some variation of it, I think, if he ever wanted to. Wrestling is all about reinvention. this is a chance for him to start a clean slate, basically.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But
So
he's not content being just Charlotte Flair's boyfriend.
yeah, and you could tell, and I think he's going to do really big somewhere else, and I'm looking forward. I'll give it a couple months.
Okay, so just before we get into the other shows, so we have here's what we have for WrestleMania Night 1. We have Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's title. Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE title. Bad Bunny versus The Miz. Excuse me. Then on night 2, that's Sunday, we have Roman Reigns versus Edge for the Universal title. Asuka versus Ray Ripley for the Raw Women's title. the Fiend versus Randy Orton.
Again.
So then, yeah, because they've had quite a few matches already.
Yes.
And they've had some of those cinematic matches already.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. Does not have a night yet. And God help us, Braun Strowman versus Shane. They're really dead set on that match for some reason.
Exactly. I don't know why, but
okay. So other big story. So Impact is going to be running out of Tuesday nights soon. Impact announced today they're going to be moving to Thursday night on Thursday, April 8th. So here is the story. After WrestleMania, NXT's weekly show moving from Wednesday nights to Tuesday nights starting April 13th. So starting April 8th, Impact is moving from Tuesday to Thursday. So they only have a couple more shows on Tuesday night on Access TV.
Yeah.
So Impact, any thoughts on Impact this week, Mike?
I think they're setting up that Kenny Omega Swan match. Yep. And I think that's going to be something to watch. I think that's what's going to. But my thing, I'm kind of curious though. Mm-hmm. Did Tony Khan buy an interest into Impact Wrestling?
I don't know. I don't
or
think
it's
so.
Just a partnership, because something seems like it's like, because they were talking about another show on a broadcast show.
I don't think Tony really wants to buy another wrestling promotion right now. And who owns so Anthem Media now owns Impact Wrestling, and now they have like co-ownership or controlling ownership of Access TV. So I don't think that's changed. I don't know if he's buying into Impact or if he wants to buy into it at some point. I think it's just kind of like, we're in a pandemic now. Let's help each other out. Don Callis has a good relationship with Kenny Omega. Mm-hmm. Kenny Omega almost signed to Impact Wrestling, actually, when he was a free agent.
I remember that.
Before he signed with AEW. So, let's work together. We have friends here. We have friends over there. We can, we don't have to be enemies. And it has helped Impact to some degree. Like, their viewership is not big, but they've garnered their biggest like ratings and viewership ever because of this whole crossover with AEW.
Yeah.
But they haven't. It's mainly just been Kenny Omega, and then they let Dave Finlay and Juice Robinson from New Japan. So I guess the good news is that those fences are being mended, because previously Impact wasn't getting along with New Japan, and New Japan wasn't getting along with AEW. So now it seems like those relationships have been slowly repaired. So that's a good thing.
I agree. I agree, because I think you need that New Japan talent, especially with Juice coming into Impact. I think
a lot of these guys.
He was great. He's great at New Japan.
I love Juice. Juice is one of my favorite. Juice Robinson is one of my favorites right now. So a lot of these guys, because of travel restrictions, it's hard for them to go overseas for Japan.
Well, that's what happened with Pac.
That's right. That it's happened, I think, Death Triangle 2 a little bit. But yeah, so like a lot of guys are stuck overseas, or they can't do the quarantines required to travel. So um, I think in that interest, it's good that the companies can work together and put their differences aside. Let these guys work. Let these guys make money and and help each other out, because right now, with everything being so hard to the pandemic, people should be working together.
Yeah, I
We
agree.
we shouldn't be holding on to petty grudges right now. We should be banding together and working together so wrestling can survive this pandemic. And once everything does get the all clear, that like everything can fire on all cylinders, or just get back to a level where guys can start touring again. We can start filling up arenas again, hopefully, but we'll see.
But I don't think this is the end of this whole Impact
I hope not.
AEW
Yeah.
relationship, because I think it helps Impact a lot, especially if they want to eventually move out of the
Okay.
bingo halls and into like
Right.
arenas.
So what do you think Kenny is going to beat Rich Swann and start collecting belts? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. If you're gonna do something with anybody, Kenny Omega's the guy you do this with.
I think. Do you think they're waiting for like restrictions to lift to really ramp this angle up, though? Because I feel like they haven't taken it too far.
No, but I think that you could tell that they kind of want to.
Right.
You could tell that they want to bring more in and they want to do this, etc. It helps because it helps Impact a lot,
Okay.
but also too it gets people because these little commercial spots that Tony Schiavone and Tony Khan have been doing
Right.
really get you excited for Impact for AEW Dynamite.
But there hasn't been, other than the Good Brothers, other than Omega, Callis, and then those things with Tony and Schiavone and Tony Khan. There hasn't been a ton of other. Oh wait, they did have the
Private Party.
Private Party did wrestle the Good Brothers. So but then Finn and Finlay are from they brought them over from New Japan, and they're the tag team champs right now. So
And we haven't seen that crossover. But here's my thing: I want to see a Motor City Machine Guns, Young Bucks match on AEW. I just want to see Motor City Machine Guns get into AEW and just get that TV spotlight that they deserve.
I love the Motor City Machine Guns. I love them from their X Division days.
Yeah.
Sabin, Sabin is still wrestling in Impact. What is going on with Alex Shelley? Did he take a break?
I thought Alex Shelley's in Canada and he can't get in.
Okay.
They were in lockdown for a couple of weeks.
I think that I forget. So maybe once things hopefully start getting back to normal later this year, they can start bringing more guys in.
Yeah, because I know that he had a problem before because he was living in Canada and he couldn't come back into the United States. So that's why they had Chris Sabin with what's the guy beer money?
James Storm.
Yeah, they had them doing their work together.
All right.
So
I mean, realistic, like Sabin's injuries, I think, are starting to catch up with him a little bit. So you gotta strike while the iron is hot. If you have some fun crossover matches.
That's why I say this is the perfect time to do the AEW thing, because if not, you're never gonna have the chance.
Right,
to do it.
Exactly. And then Ethan Page, he ended up signing with AEW. So then, even though he was a free agent, he ended up going to AEW. So he could still technically cross over back to Impact. If they want. But what do you think about Impact? They're moving again from Tuesday nights to Thursday nights now because of the NXT move.
I think it makes sense.
Okay.
Have Impact and AEW, pretty much Impact leading the way into the show for AEW. I think it's a smart decision.
Okay, so I guess in a little less than 3 weeks, NXT will be moving from Wednesday nights to Tuesday nights. So the Wednesday Night Wars, which are basically over. So basically, AEW won the Wednesday Night
Yeah.
Wars because NXT is moving. So what do
Mhm.
you think of the end of the Wednesday Night Wars and the move for NXT to Tuesday?
You know what? It wasn't like the Monday Night Wars
Right.
where they had that excitement,
Mm-hmm.
but during this time when AEW came into play, you could tell NXT was hurting on it because it was more exciting wrestling on AEW. Yeah, it wasn't clean. They had their issues, but now to this point in 2021, even in 2020, the storylines were better, the action was better. You kind of felt you believe in the wrestler, so you
Mm-hmm.
wind up following them. NXT, unless it was Johnny Gargano, friggin' Finn Balor, Adam Cole, and Undisputed Era. And once you get under their top guys, there wasn't really nothing there.
Okay, so let's get into the Wednesday Night Wars for this week's the soon to be over Wednesday Night Wars. So
Mhm.
NXT this week. So we had let's see. Let me find my notes on this. So we had Eoshirai and Zoe Stark versus Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai won. So
Mhm.
the good news is the NXT women now have their own tag team titles. So
Yep.
Dakota Kai, that could be a good role for Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, or Raquel Gonzalez could be. I think she could be the next women's champion. But what do you think?
I think Gonzalez is going to be the next women's champion. I think she's set up for it. She has that height. She has the like ability to do it as well.
Okay. Now is that okay? So that is the matchup they're doing at Stand and Deliver.
Yeah.
So Io Shirai versus Raquel Gonzalez. So they're setting up that match
Mhm.
for Stand and Deliver in night one. Who do you think's going to win?
Raquel Gonzalez easily.
I think she's great, and I think Shirai, she's kind of had the belt a while now, don't you
Yeah.
think? It's
Yeah.
kind of, it's kind
And
of.
and it's like we need a little change. We need a little infusion in the arm in order
Do
to
you
make her could bring it lively again.
do you think after she wins, she'll like turn on Dakota Kai and just destroy
Yes.
her,
Yes.
and then you can set up that matchup,
Yeah,
really?
exactly. And that's what they're gonna do.
Okay, so they're also now they're it looks like they're doing a thing. So now that Undisputed Era has basically split up, it looks like it's going to be this thing with Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. Do you think it was time to end Undisputed Era
I
and
wish
Adam
it would
Cole, baby?
I wish it would have went a little longer
Uh huh.
because I like that gimmick. I like that Undisputed Era gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish it would have brought it over to, even though they never would, to Raw or SmackDown. I think it would have brought a lot of excitement. But if you're gonna end it, this is a good fight to end it. And the
Oh,
way they're building it up is getting like, okay, I want to see it. I want to see them go at each other.
so NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver Night 2 on April 8th. It will be Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole in an unsanctioned match. How do you like that one?
It's gonna be fun. I mean, they're really working it. And like last night, they didn't even show this on TV. I mean, Adam Cole even freaking punched William Regal.
Yeah, after they went
I
off
mean,
the
they're
air.
really selling this, and they're really getting into it. So I'm looking forward to it. It looks like it's going to be a good match.
So we had a match with Bronson Reed versus LA Knight. Bronson Reed won. Um, was it the right time for LA Knight, the former Eli Drake, to sign with NXT? What do you think?
I don't think so. I
Mm.
don't like the way they're doing this LA Knight character for him.
I like the name.
I like the name, but I don't like the way they're selling it.
I think it was kind of early to have him lose to Bronson Reed too.
Yeah.
Like, I get you don't want to maybe job Bronson Reed because maybe you want to push him and have like him as a big powerhouse
Mhm.
or a contender at some point. I think it was kind of early for him to
Yeah,
job to Bronson Reed. I don't think you want to job him out just yet. You know what I mean?
exactly. And I think it loses heat on the character.
Okay, so here's the other news that happened this week. So they announced that Danny Birch, one half of the NXT Tag Team Champions with Oni Lorcan, has a separated shoulder, like a legit separated shoulder. So they stripped those two of the tag team titles. So now it'll be a three-way dance for the vacant titles. Let's see. I think. I think it's going to be between. Okay, so here it is. At night one of Takeover, it's going to be MSK versus Grizzled Young Vets versus Legado del Fantasma, and the winners will win the vacant titles. Right way to go. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a good way to start this. And and you know what? MSK is exciting.
I predict MSK, the former Rascals from Impact. I predict they're going to win. But what do
Yeah.
you think?
So I agree with you because I like their style. They didn't change anything from Impact to NXT. I think they're exciting. They're fun to watch. I think they're going to win the belts. I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
It reminds me of like DIY when they gave
Mm-hmm.
the belts to DIY. I feel like
Yeah.
they're kind of like what Ciampa and Gargano were with DIY.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that's why they're going to win. Or I could also see the Grizzled Young Vets winning as well. But
Yeah.
I think it's going to be MSK.
Yeah, I think
Is
so
my
too.
prediction. Okay, so Karrion Kross beat the former tag team champ Oni Lorcan. So Karrion Kross, the former NXT World Champion, will be wrestling Finn Balor night 2. So they're setting that up. So
Mhm.
how do you think they're doing with that and giving Karrion Kross another shot for the NXT World Title?
I think Karrion Kross is a great talent.
Mm-hmm.
I think matching him up with Finn Balor is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're trying to build Karrion into something more. And
Mm-hmm.
Finn Balor is the guy you do that with. I think he's the guy who could really push the limits and really get something out of him.
What I'm worried about with Karrion Kross is he got injured like right after he won the title last time, right?
Yes, he did.
And even though it's really Triple H and like HBK's show over there, I wonder if that's gonna hurt his chances in the future. You know, I feel like Vince punished Finn Balor because
Mhm.
after Finn Balor came to Raw, he beat Seth Rollins for the Universal title and he got hurt in that match.
Mhm.
And he had to vacate it right away. And
Yeah.
I feel like Vince never forgave Finn Balor for that. But what do you
I
think?
think I think Vince just doesn't like guys like Finn Balor.
Mm.
He doesn't like those skinny guys.
Mm.
He wants the muscle guys. And Finn Balor's more exciting than some of these muscle guys. And I just think Vince is too into his old ways and the way things used to be, and doesn't realize that like when you look at this world of wrestling nowadays, it's speed, athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that many guys who are like super big guys anymore.
So,
And I think he's still living in in the early 2000s, 90s, and the 80s.
well, there's
Because
no
let's be
argument
honest,
there. No argument there for
yeah.
me.
Because let's be honest, because if Triple H had Triple H and Stephanie were able to take over, I think you would see a major change in WWE.
Um, it also wouldn't surprise me if NBC Universal tries to buy out Vince at some point, but that's
Mhm.
a whole other.
Yeah.
I could see like a corporate buyout at some
Mhm.
point down the line, just because everything nowadays is it's about like IP and like owning owning your product and
Yeah.
owning your own products and stuff like that.
Exactly, and I think, and I don't think they've really. They did an interview with Stephanie McMahon earlier, and I forgot
Hmm.
what outlet did that.
I think it was
And
Bloomberg.
yeah, it was. But yeah, it was. No, wasn't it Forbes?
Could have been Forbes.
Yeah,
She's yeah.
that they really didn't give into detail or go into detail like what's going to happen when Vince decides to step down. There's a plan, but I don't think Stephanie and Triple H are a part of that plan. Something
Mm.
tells me they're not a part of it.
I think if they were ever bought out corporately, I think you got to keep guys like Stephanie and Triple H there because they know what they're
Mhm.
doing. I
Yeah.
mean, well, at least Triple H knows
Mhm.
he knows what he's doing. Like
Mhm.
Stephanie, I think can be like the corporate face, like with
Mhm.
sponsorships and. But I think as far as the wrestling product, I think you want Triple H to be
Yeah.
behind that to some degree. Um, I don't think he could do because I don't think he can do any worse running the ship than Vince can at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing, like, whoever takes over, the one thing they got to really look at is the writers.
And
Because
I
it's
think And I think Shane seems to be back in the fold these days too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I guess Shane had. I don't know. He had that company in China. I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs, but I recall Dave Meltzer saying that company went under. So I guess they just let Shane back in with open arms,
Yeah.
basically. Okay,
Well,
so
when you're the
this.
son, it's easy to come back.
I mean, he's part of it too, I guess.
Yeah.
So this is one big guy I think you would be okay with. So they have Walter versus the the plucky underdog Drake Maverick. So now they're setting up Walter versus Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT UK title. That'll be night 1 of NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver. I think Walter is really good, and I could see big things for him in the future if they play their
Yeah.
cards right.
I think Walter's gonna keep the belt.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tommaso's his run is coming to an end soon. You could feel it. It just they never have really. Yeah, I mean he's bounced around from NXT, went into the main roster, came back to NXT. They just never really after the Johnny Gargano thing. It's never been the same.
I think they just want to give Walter a fresh opponent and like kind of like a more mainstream name because he's been over there in NXT UK and defending it over there. And I think they're trying to test the waters with Walter in the US to see if he can be a big star over here. Do you think Walter has what it takes to be like? I think he has potential to be a Brock Lesnar level attraction.
Yeah, I think he does, and I think Imperium has worked in the U.S. I think that whole faction has worked. That's why I say I think Walter's going to be. We're going to be seeing him a lot more in this upcoming year.
Walter, it's not just the moves, but like he has the most vicious chops I've ever seen. He looks like he could break it. He looks like he could break any man in half. He has the aura. He has the look. He's the total pack. Like if you want a big guy wrestler, he is the total package of one of the best monsters ever.
Yeah,
to be
I
one
agree.
of the best monsters ever. So
I agree.
if you're looking for, people are talking about like Parker Boudreaux. Walter is the guy you should be looking at right now.
Yeah, I think I think they have something with Walter, and they just need to continue working with them.
But it's just how much longer do they want him to be the NXT UK champion? Do they want to try?
Yeah.
I hope this is a sign they're going to start bringing him over to the US more, but we'll see.
Exactly. I hope so too.
So okay, so elsewhere we had Robert Stone and Mercedes Martinez. So they're trying to go up against Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart won that match last night. Cameron Grimes and Roderick Strong had a thing backstage. So there's gonna be, what else? So Takeover Night 2 main event is Finn versus Karrion Kross. Oh, so Jordan Devlin versus Kashida. Jordan Devlin beat Kashida, formerly of the Time Splitters. And they're building up to Jordan Devlin versus Santos Escobar to unify the Cruiserweight titles. So that'll also be on night 2 of Takeover. So how do you like that they're finally resolving this whole disputed Cruiserweight title situation?
I think it's good. I think it's good to have both of them because they were excited. It was an exciting match yesterday with Kashida, and I like the setup for what's coming for this. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm still kind of on the fence.
Who do you think should win this match, though?
I don't know. On this one, I really don't know.
I say give it to Santos because he's done. Through this whole time, he's done a good job, and I think Santos is a guy they should push, and then match him up with Kashida. Yeah. That's what I want to see happen.
Because I just kind of I've been on the fence with this one. With the cruiserweight champ in general has been kind of on the fence because they really haven't. They've had talent and they move them around, and then they're no longer cruiserweights.
Well,
it's hard to love anybody on there.
let's be honest. The cruiserweight division, it's a sideshow division in the
Hmm.
WWE. It's
Yeah.
not like, they're putting them on TV on NXT, which is good, but they're never going to be that big of a deal. It's never
Hmm.
going to be like the cruiserweight division of the Monday night Nitro days.
Yeah.
It's never going to be
Exactly.
that again. Um, and here's the other thing: most of the cruiserweight guys are gonna want to be like in the heavyweight division at some point anyway. That's the other
Yeah.
thing. None
Yeah.
of those cruiserweight guys are gonna want to stay 205 live or cruiserweight for
Or
good.
be chasing R-Truth for the 24/7 championship.
Ugh.
They really need to get rid of that friggin' belt.
Oh, that the
That
Rob
whole thing.
the Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Okay, so then to close out NXT, we had the sit down with Regal, Cole, and O'Reilly. So we've kind of had the whole Undisputed Era breakdown. I'm glad that Cole is playing the heel in all this because
Hmm.
he's very believable in that role. And then as you said earlier, after they went off the air, like Cole punched out Regal, so they're giving this a lot of build up at least.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why it's they're building it up the right way for this match,
Hmm.
and I'm looking forward to it. It looks
Yeah.
exciting, especially like after HBK was looking at Adam Cole, like, hey, this looks kind of like almost like I've seen this before, and then just walked away.
So at the very least, we're getting NXT Takeover stand and deliver during WrestleMania week. So at the very least, we're getting the Takeover shows on WrestleMania. So even if WrestleMania does not deliver, and we know Takeover will,
Yeah,
and that's a good thing about NXT. It's a more wrestling kind of athletic based product, and it's more no nonsense, right?
yeah, and Triple H has done a great job with NXT over the years.
Okay,
He's done a great job, but
all right,
AEW,
yeah,
hands
okay.
down, this is a weak show.
All right. So now, speaking of AEW, so now we'll get to AEW Dynamite, second half of the Monday Night Wars. So kicking
Mhm.
off Dynamite, we had Kenny Omega versus Matt Sydal. Kenny Omega won. Kenny Omega is one of my favorite wrestlers on the planet.
Same here.
So I've enjoyed his run as champion and finally turning heel. Um, Solid match. Matt Sydal is not. He's not the star he was, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah,
He's still a good worker. He still has some gas left in the tank, but this is kind of where I see him being for the remainder of his career.
yeah, I agree.
Kind of like at this, just kind of like
The guy who's almost there
he's a
never
good
gets
hand.
over.
He's a good
Yeah,
hand. I'm sorry.
exactly.
You know, and
Exactly.
and look, it's not the worst thing in the world to be a good hand, but Seidel was never like he was good in Ring of Honor, but he was never like that, breakthrough star.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like
Right.
Tyler Black. Tyler Black was clear who became Seth. Was he Tyler Black before he was Seth Rollins?
Yeah,
Like he clearly had ambition. Daniel Brian Danielson had ambition. I just never really quite got that from Matt Sydal after he joined. When he was Evan Bourne in WWE, he was always just
mhm.
kind of like just kind of
You're
like
just a worker.
he was just a worker. He was a good
Mhm.
hand.
Yeah. So
Okay, so let's see. So we had Hangman Page versus Caesar Bononi. Hangman won. Let's
yeah,
see.
that was kinda like just a exercise match.
Oh, okay. So we're hot off the heels of last week. We had that great lights out match with Dr. Britt Baker.
Mhm.
Love Thunder Rosa is awesome.
Oh,
She
yeah,
won
she's
that
awesome.
match. And then we had that great promo with Tony and Tony Schiavone and Britt Baker this
Mhm.
week. Britt Baker had some good. I love Britt Baker. I think she's a great heel right now. She's
Yeah,
clearly developing. That
but I
was a
liked and the matches with Britt Baker and
yeah.
Thunder Rosa have been amazing. Last week's match was definitely a good way to start the year. It was so, so good.
It was an emotional, dramatic match.
Mhm.
I like like her ring attire always looks so good. I love her face paint. And Baker, like I want Baker. She needs to be the next women's champion.
Yeah.
in my opinion. In my opinion, Thunder Rosa she's still signed with NWA. She still has NWA commitments. So she's splitting time with NWA and AEW. But Britt Baker, I think, if they would just give her the title and just let her have that kind of Ric Flair kind of like heel title run for a while, I think it'll be magical. So I hope
I
that
think
happens.
so too. I really hope she does get the belt.
How did you like that line where she said, "Mick Foley, it took you 20 years to become a hardcore legend. I did it in one night." I thought that was a good line.
That was a really good line because that just like, ooh, damn, that. If I'm Mick Foley, I'd be like, that's freaking awesome. That was a good line. Good line. I think he would approve.
Okay, what else did she say? She had the Thunder Rosa said she had the audacity to stand here and say they put women on the map. Then why is everyone talking about me?
It's kind of true. It's been it was one of those matches where I haven't seen anything that good in WWE so far in the last year.
But you know what? It kind of reminds me of. Kind of reminds me of Brett versus Austin. I'm not saying it's anywhere as big or as momentous as that, but just kind of like it's a match that really like puts Britt Baker on the map too.
Yeah.
Even though she lost, like it like
Oh,
everyone
it
has to
pushed
take
her.
notice.
Yeah, it
of
pushed her
now.
over big time. That
Okay.
match pushed her over big time.
All right. So now we have FTR, Sean Spears versus Varsity Blondes and Dante Martin. So FTR and Sean Spears are in the new big
Pinnacle.
The Pinnacle, the new kind of horseman type stable with MJF now. Had that great, and then they had that great in-ring promo after. What do you think of like now that MJF he's left Inner Circle, now he has his own group called Pinnacle. What do you think of that now?
I'm curious to see what they're going to do with it. And I'm still in a hold pattern because we haven't seen the Inner Circle come back yet. Chances are they'll be back next week or a week after. And I want to see what they develop between those two factions because I think it's going to be something very explosive. It's going to be fun. Because I'm a big fan of Sammy Guevara. I think Sammy Guevara is one of the best young guys. And I'm
also from he's also from Texas.
Yep. You know, Texas makes some good wrestlers over there. So
yeah.
Shawn
Michaels.
So that's why I'm saying, like, I think this Pinnacle versus Inner Circle thing is going to be something worthwhile. And I have a feeling they're going to bring somebody into Inner Circle to help them out.
Before this whole pandemic started, they wanted to do that. Remember, they wanted to do that thing called Blood and Guts. Do you think when the restrictions lift and we can finally get fans back or touring, they'll do the Blood and Guts match? Do you think they would do it with Pinnacle and Inner Circle?
Oh yeah, they'll do that. They'll bring out everything because that's going to be a match that's going to sell.
I think instead they did that. What was that? The Stadium Stampede is basically what they. Stadium Stampede was fun for what it was.
It was good.
It was a little goofy, but
Yeah.
But I mean, look, when you have this pandemic, you can't like.
You got to be careful.
Yeah, you got to be careful, and you can't you can't do the Blood and Guts yet. But hopefully they will. I'm hoping they remember that they wanted to do Blood and Guts, and they will get around to it at some point.
Yeah,
okay.
Same here.
So QT Marshall, do you care about the QT Marshall heel turn? And now it seems like they're doing something with him and Cody.
Yeah, no.
Right now.
No, not a big fan.
It gives them something to do at least.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it pretty much is to buy time for them. Give them something to do while they're working on other stuff.
I kind of see QT now. He's kind of like what Arn Anderson was in WCW in the mid 90s before he retired. Kind of just, I think Arn Anderson was already in that kind of producer role and helping build other guys and helping other guys work their matches, which QT Marshall I think already does now with Tony Khan. I think he helps build the matches and the shows with Tony Khan for AEW now.
Yeah.
I think he's one of their backstage guys.
I think so.
Okay, so Lucha Brothers. Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid had that match with Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler. That was a big win.
That was match of the night for me. Yeah. I love watching the Lucha Bros.
Laredo Kid, he looks pretty special too.
Yeah, I mean that was such a I just love Lucha Bros. They're so exciting to watch. They're so fun. Ray Phoenix, Pentagon, dude, Penta Zero Metal.
I love the Lucha Bro. I think
Love that shit.
Ray Phoenix is
Love
one
it.
of. I think he's one of the best workers on the roster, and um, I think he's very over. He's super popular in Mexico.
Mhm.
Speaks English. He could be a much bigger star. You know. I would, if anyone were to beat Darby Allin now for the TNT title, I would definitely consider like Ray Phoenix one of the top candidates.
Yeah,
You
but I
know.
want to see the Lucha Bros as tag team
Oh
champions.
yeah, I want to see. You know.
And it's like I like the Young Bucks. Don't get me wrong, but right now it feels like, well, you know what? We were part of the whole development of AEW.
Hmm.
It's our time to hold the belt.
But you
And
see, now they're doing Young Buck, like Young Bucks turned on Kenny Omega.
mhm.
They refused to join Kenny Omega. And now maybe the Good Brothers are going to come to AEW and try to win the AEW tag team
Who
titles.
knows? Who knows? It may be, and also too that leads into like friggin' Mox and Eddie Kingston
Oh, that's right.
talking
Because
about it. It was the first mention of Bullet Club on AEW.
so now like Moxley and Kingston are kind of like they're buddies now.
Mhm.
And now
Well, you know, whenever they blow up a ring and you got a guy who falls
uh,
over you, mm,
oh my
uh,
god.
now suddenly you become friends.
The ring didn't blow up. It
Exactly.
blew sparklers.
Exactly.
Okay, this one surprised me. Tay Conti beat Nyla Rose. That was a pretty big upset.
Yep.
Tay Conti did look good last night.
Well, the last
Um,
couple weeks she's had great matches. Last week she
um,
had a good match. This week is a good match.
so she beat Nyla, and then Hikaru Shida came out to help her.
Mhm.
Um,
And you had the Dark Order come out, and the Dark Order has been supporting her. So
yeah. So who do you think is going to beat Hikaru Shida? Who's going to be the next women's champion? Is it going to be someone like Tay Conti? Is it going to be the Bunny, or is it going to be, or should it be like someone like Thunder Rosa or
I think it
Serena?
should be Britt Baker should be fighting her
I
first.
agree, but it doesn't
It
seem
doesn't
like
seem
they're,
like it's going that way, though. I agree with you on that one.
yeah. So it
Um,
seems like Sheeta's like maybe she'll team with Tay Conti next week. I don't
mhm,
know.
yeah. I don't know. With their women's division, it's hard to tell, and it's hard to foresee what they're gonna do. But right now, it looks like Tay Conti may be the person they.
Okay, now
Yeah,
the main event last night was this was really good. Darby out like man, John Silver. When John Silver gets going, he is like fun to watch, don't you
yeah.
think?
And he's another guy that WWE had let go, and got an opportunity, and this guy friggin' has really been like fun to watch,
And you
exciting to
know
watch.
why? Because he's 5'6".
Mm,
But you know who else is 5'6"? Rey Mysterio.
yeah,
But I mean, look like Darby Allin is not a big guy either,
mhm,
but Silver was just ragdolling him the
yeah.
whole like he lifted Darby Allin up in like a military press. I'm like, this guy's just fun to watch. He's like,
And did you see when he gave him that brain buster and he picked him up
yeah,
like nothing, like just boom, one
his
complete motion.
he's got like that insane strength. His facial expressions, like, you know, he's got the whole Johnny Hungy thing. Like this guy, like this guy is fun. That was a great match. I had a lot of fun with that main event. What did you think of Darby
Oh,
versus John
it was
Silver?
such a fun match. I loved it. I love the match. I'm a big fan of Darby Allin. I think
Hmm.
they just need to tweak him out a little bit more. I like the fact that it looks like Sting's
Okay.
helping develop into something
Hmm.
and having Sting there. But
Cause yeah, right. We did see Sting last night because he did come out to kind of
mhm,
to kind of guard
yeah, but sometimes I wonder
Darby Allin
with a lot of
from
the things that
interference.
yeah, but the one thing I gotta mention though is that when Darby Allin comes out, sometimes I worry like how long of a career is this guy gonna really have? Because like he did that coffin drop out to the
That
out to
coffin
the
drop
Dark
looked
Order,
gnarly.
and I was just like, and he drops hard. He
Uh,
drops hard.
Darby just does not care about his own life when he
Mhm.
wrestles. Sometimes
Yeah.
he has taken some pretty sick bumps from
Mhm.
time to time, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Um,
It was great. I love
like I like Darby. I think he's got like that kind of character. Um, more than Sting, you know who he really reminds me of is Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
Is who he really remind
Uh-huh.
more than anything. He's to me, I would say he's kind of like the evolution of Jeff Hardy, more
Yeah.
so than Sting. I don't
Exactly.
know. I don't know why people always felt he needed to be paired up with Sting, really, but
I could see why now, like in the beginning to
mhm,
now. I could see why because I think in transitioning into this type of role, it's
mhm.
really helpful to have have Sting with him.
Okay,
But
so after the match, they were attacked by Private Party and Matt Hardy. Dave Meltzer is saying it's going to be Matt Hardy versus Darby Allin. What do you think of that?
it'd be a good match. I don't think it's going to be anything of exciting because I don't think
Hmm.
Matt Hardy could do much anymore. I mean, his knees fused. He can't really walk and run like he used to. He can't wrestle the way he used to. It's just kind of like a put over match for me.
I think with that in mind though, I think they're using Matt Hardy in the right way, kind of transitioning him
Yeah,
like he's still a character, he's still on screen, but now he's kind of uh managing other wrestlers and kind of,
yeah,
I think that's a good role for him and he's kind of I think he realizes he doesn't have too many matches left in him.
yeah,
Especially at like after that bump with Sammy, like that was bad.
yeah.
Like
That was bad.
that was really scary.
Yeah, when his
Um
wife said
oh
something because
man.
you don't really hear her say much. After that match, she really was kind
Now
of furious about what happened.
I like AEW. I'm a
Mhm,
big fan of AEW, but that situation was not handled well at
mhm.
all. And they should have just called an audible and just should have just ended the match right there.
Yeah,
Like they shouldn't have tried because he was clearly out. He was clearly
yeah.
out of it and couldn't continue after that point. But
Well,
whatever.
whatever.
But
Just
with that in mind, I think this is the best role for Matt Hardy right now.
yeah.
But he probably will have kind of just a a one-off match with Darby.
Mhm.
But I hope neither guy takes an. I hope I hope neither guy kills himself in that
No,
match.
that exactly. But
Like I
overall,
like Darby, but I am worried he's gonna kill himself at some point. Like
yeah.
not literally kill himself, but he's gonna really hurt himself bad.
And that's what worries me about him too, because I think he's a very has a very bright future. I just don't want
Cause
him to get hurt.
cause here's my theory about Jeff Hardy. Like Jeff Hardy was, back in his younger days, he was kind of like that daredevil bump taker.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think a lot of those bumps probably are probably what got him hooked on drugs
Mhm.
because he was probably abusing painkillers. He was probably taking those drugs just because he was in so much pain.
Yeah.
And look, it happens to a lot of wrestlers.
Mhm.
They get addicted to pain. It happened to Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
They get addicted to substances or opiates because they're trying to just they're
Trying to make
trying
every match, trying to get to
trying to
that
get to
next
that next
payday.
match and trying to
Yeah.
work through and they're trying to work through that
Mhm.
constant pain
Mhm.
because those bumps the body can only take so many bumps. The bumps, no matter how you work, those bumps take a toll
Mhm.
on the body. It's
Yep,
not
and that's
the
why,
bumps are not fake.
exactly, and
The
like I
bumps are
tell
not fake. They are
yeah, and like
not.
I tell people, it's like professional wrestling, yeah, there's some of the scripted stuff is fake, but trust me, the athleticism and the injuries that these guys take are very, very real.
Right.
And it's just they gotta hopefully more people will realize that,
Right.
but it's just it's sad to, and we don't
I
want
mean,
to. I don't want to see a guy like Brooklyn.
Steve Austin had a broken neck,
Mhm.
broken bones in his back.
Yep.
Uh, I mean, even back in the '80s, like when Jake Roberts
Mhm.
like remember when he DDT Ricky Steamboat on the
Yeah.
concrete? Like
Mhm.
his face, he tried to do the DDT so it wouldn't have hurt Steamboat and would have protect, but Steamboat's face landed flat on the concrete, and it seriously injured his face, and he
Yeah.
was he was out of action for a few months. So
Exactly.
it's
I
been
agree.
that way. I'm just saying it's been that way for decades. So
Yeah.
going back to Darby Allin, I just don't want Darby Allin to be. I'm not saying he should never do big spots or never do big bumps, but save him for like every once in a while.
Yeah,
Okay, you're gonna do a big pay-per-view match, maybe plan out your one big bump and do one on like a big pay-per-view so it means something.
exactly.
But
Exactly. But in order to wrap everything
yeah.
up, I think we should tie everything up now.
Yeah.
Overall, what was the best show of the week for you? We didn't talk SmackDown because
SmackDown is tomorrow.
We're working out with the times and how this is
Okay.
all going to work out. So we're still trying to figure out what the times are going to look like. But show of the week from what you've seen so far.
It's basically between NXT and AEW.
Mhm.
Segment for segment, match for match. I got to go with AEW Dynamite.
Same here. AEW Dynamite this week was a lot of fun. It was exciting. NXT was just a little off for me, but AEW had a better week in my eyes. But
just in terms of storytelling promos, we had the stories with the Young Bucks, with Kenny Omega, with Darby Allin, with Tay Conti and Nyla Rose. Like Tay Conti definitely coming into her own, and of course, Britt Baker giving it bad to Mick Foley, breaking the heart of Mick Foley was epic. So
that's what I say. By the end of the year, once we get to the end of the year and we give out our awards for best matches of the year,
that one's definitely going to be on there.
I'm not surprised if me and you choose Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa to be the match of the year.
And hopefully wrestling is going to look different by the end of the year, and hopefully we're finally out of this pandemic, but we shall see. But yeah, I got to give it to
we can get out and watch some wrestling matches.
I hope so. Just because that's been the tough thing about this pandemic is not
well, I get it.
Not being able to get out and watch wrestling, but also it's harder to watch wrestling without the fans present. In WWE, it just looks weird with the Thunderdome screens just creep me out.
I think with the fan like that, I think that's what WWE is missing. WWE is missing the actual fans. They feed off of that. Whereas AEW is still early. It's still early in their existence, so they could work off of that.
I do watch New Japan, and they are having shows with live fans in Japan. They have capacity limits and all that. So there is that. And it is better. I do like watching it with the live. It's tough to watch wrestling without the live fans.
I agree. Tough. I agree. But hey, we'll be back next week. We're going to wrap everything up. Jeff, how could they find you?
Okay, so you can follow me on Twitter at Wheeljack83. Once again, I am the J to the E to the double F-free. Also, if you go to Apple Podcasts, if you go to Stitcher or Spotify, it is the 411 Wrestling Interviews podcast. I'm hopefully going to start up some more interviews soon once the new season of Dark Side of the Ring pops up. But last year, I interviewed Chris Jericho, the AEW star who hosted Dark Side of the Ring. Interviewed Jim Ross, one of the broadcasters for AEW, and the widow of Owen Hart. I had a very great interview with Martha Hart. One of the few interviews she's done. She did for Dark Side of the Ring. So check that out on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify, the 411 Wrestling Interviews podcast. Thank you very much for having me on, Michael. It's a lot of
always
fun.
Well, hopefully we get to do this every week and we get to talk about wrestling, because that's one of my favorite things since I was a kid, and I'm still a fan now. I'm going to be a fan until I grow old and get gray and can't move anymore. But hey, everybody, thank you so much. This is the premiere episode. We look forward to seeing you next week. We'll be here on YouTube. We may be changing the times a little bit. We'll just let you know. We may move it to Saturday in order to make it to cut SmackDown into it. But but stay tuned. We'll let you know. Don't forget to like, subscribe, tell your friends about it. And we'll be back next week for another episode of This Week in Pro Wrestling.